Good morning. We're just going to give folks a moment to come in from the waiting room and connect to audio. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, we can hear you. We're just going to ask folks to please remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before the board. We're going to give just another moment to make sure that folks have entered from the waiting room. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the city of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Today, I'm joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. All testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, KNG Entertainment LLC, doing business as Sidebar, located at 14 to 16 Bromfield Street. Dated the incident January 16th, 2023, over intoxicated patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who was present on behalf of the licensee?
I am.
Thank you. Could you just please identify yourself for the board?
Katie Clem.
Thank you, Ms. Clem. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Hi, sweetie.
Lieutenant Detective Troy, if Officer Grady or Detective Dugal are not present, which I don't believe they are.
I do not see either of them. Thank you, Lieutenant Troy. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you, Lieutenant Troy. If you could please proceed with reading the police report into the record.
Reading from a report authored by Officer Grady reads as follows: at about 1:58 a.m. on January 16, 2023, Officer Grady and Murray in the Alpha 103 responded to a radio call to investigate person/removal at 14 Bromfield Street, Sidebar, Boston. On arrival, staff pointed office to an individual identified as Candace Sousa. Ms. Sousa appeared heavily intoxicated and was vomiting. Officers summoned Boston EMS, who arrived and transported Ms. Sousa to Tufts Medical Center. Body-worn cameras were activated. In addition, there's a supplementary report written by Detective Dugal. And it reads as follows: about 7 p.m. on Monday, February 6th, District 1 Detectives Dugal and McDonough, under supervision of Sergeant Detective Salucci, conducted a Code 35 licensed premise inspection of 14 Bromfield Street. The Code 35 was a result of a 911 call for an over-intoxicated patron on January 16, 2023. Restaurant manager Diane Carlson was on scene and accepted the written notice in hand. That's the extent of the police reports.
Thank you very much. Ms. Clem, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, this was a very unfortunate event that happened. We hired a new employee. And at Sidebar, we have 2 different bars. And since COVID, it's only been busy enough to have one of them open. This new employee decided that it was okay for him to go to the bar that was closed and pour himself and the woman that was sick just shots. He was just pouring them both shots that nobody was like seeing or regulating. I mean, we have employees like sit on that side and eat and do stuff all the time, so no one suspected that he was doing anything wrong until it was discovered that this girl was all of a sudden very drunk.
Thank you, Ms. Clem. Is there anything else you would like to provide to the board before we move to questions, or is that all?
That's it.
Thank you. We'll move to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions of the licensee or Lieutenant Detective Troy?
Who called the police?
Either it's somebody, it was either a regular at the bar or the bartender. There was only like,
How long was it? Did this new employee know this patron?
not very long. They just met that night. I believe she was from Canada and was supposed to fly back.
Can you fill in the blanks here for me? So this guy was working.
He wasn't working at the time. He had worked earlier that day.
Okay, so can you fill in the blanks in the story? This is an employee who was not working, but was he like staying there after his shift? Did he come back in? How did he go over to the other side of the?
Yeah, he stayed after his shift.
He stayed after his shift. Okay, more details would be helpful.
And I mean, you have to walk by the bar to get to the bathroom, so it's very easy to
Okay,
just go over there. And it was the end of the night on a Sunday. And no one suspected that that's what was going on.
and how many staff were working that night?
2,
A bartender and who else?
a bar back.
Okay, and what time did this new employee finish his shift compared to what time this incident happened? And how was it discovered? Did the bartender or barback see this person sick? We need more information.
Well, I think he got off work at 7,
Okay,
and then he stayed around for a few hours. And we close at 1.
okay,
So I know that the bartender was down in the office. So we close at 1, people have till 1:30 to finish and leave. And there, like I said, there was about 4 people left in the bar that were regulars. So that, you know, they're very, like, they're keeping eye on everything. And, you know, we know that they're not going to do anything wrong. So the bartender went downstairs in the office to count the money. And when he came back upstairs, he found that the girl was very intoxicated on the other side of the bar. And
Okay.
as they tried to sort of figure out what to do, they discovered that she was indeed drunk enough that they needed to call somebody for help.
okay, so 2 staff at this time, bartender and a barback. The bartender's downstairs counting money. So it's the barback upstairs with 4 regulars.
Yes,
Okay.
cleaning up. So
Cleaning
he
up.
was,
Okay. Does this employee still work for you?
No,
Okay. When was he fired or let go or did he leave on his own?
that day
Okay.
or the next day.
What is your policy for monitoring this sidebar, literally the sidebar? You know, can you see it from, if you're the bartender, can you visually see it when you're working?
You can see people like go through the door and come out, but like I said, employees will sometimes go over there and like sit down for whatever reason. So it wasn't like seeing like an employee was over there sitting down wasn't like unusual.
Okay, is that extra bar permanently closed right now?
No,
So it's just like on a nightly basis to determine whether or not you can open it?
we usually open it on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights,
Okay,
Saturday. But on the slow nights, it's not busy enough.
and you leave it stocked on the other nights?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran, do you?
How long had that person been employed with you?
About a week and a half.
Okay. And what instruction had he gotten, you know, at the beginning of his employment about serving alcohol from that bar when he's not on duty or anything like that?
No, I mean, he's not supposed to serve himself or anybody alcohol. He was a bar back. So,
Okay. Had he been trained to that effect?
yes,
And on the night in question, what was your capacity and what was your expected capacity? Like you only had 2 people on. Doesn't seem like that many employees.
no, but it's not that big of a place.
Yeah, so what's your
So-
capacity and what did you expect?
110. But there was probably about, 20 to 30 people in at a time.
Okay, did you have more staff on and let them go when you didn't have many people there? Or is that what happened or?
No,
So,
there's just one, I mean, the way that it's set up, you just need 2 people, especially on a Sunday night.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Is it normal to see clients or customers on the side of the bar that's closed? I mean, you said it was normal to see employees, whether they're off duty, maybe they're getting something to eat or something you said, but is it
Right.
normal to see customers over there? It seems like-
No, but being that the girl was with the employee, sometimes like take the cook, her boyfriend will come in and the 2 of them will go and sit over there and eat while she's not busy. Or as a staff member. So it's not unusual that one person would be hanging out with the employee.
So no one saw them actually taking the shots though? Say, hey, that looks,
No,
Any further questions from the board?
I do. Your license ends at 1 AM?
yes.
Okay, and what's your process for getting people out by 1:30?
Well, typically people are usually just gone by then, but we start telling people at 1:15 that, that it's last call and then,
Okay, so it's 1 AM license, all patrons off by 1:30, and you testified that there were 4 regulars still there.
no, well, they were
Clocked in at
there
1:58.
while the bartender went downstairs to do the money at 1:00, they were there. upstairs.
So it's supposed to be all patrons off by 1:30. What time did
Right.
what happened here? Why were they
So
still-
when he came upstairs, I mean, they weren't there. There was one girl that was there past that because she was just worried about the situation, and she had known the guy and saw the guy that we hired and sort of like realized what was going on. So she was just helping with the situation.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions.
Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 2, Lucky Strike Jillian's LLC, doing business as Jillian's Billiards Club located at 145 Ipswich Street, stated the incident January 2nd, 2023. Intoxicated patron on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
I am.
Good morning, Attorney William Ferrullo, law offices of William Ferrullo, 28 State Street. Also present with me is Joseph Spano and Colin Sweeney, two of the managers.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Sergeant Andrew Medina.
Thank you, Sergeant. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
do.
Thank you. Sergeant Medina, if you could please proceed with reading the police report with the record.
Yeah, the first report was authored by Officer Leiden. He responded to Jillian's on 1/2/23. On arrival, officer observed Boston EMS ambulance A16 walking a man out of Jillian's into the rear of their ambulance. Officer spoke to Jillian's manager, Ryan Huffman, who stated he and staff had been alerted to the man down on the second floor of the premises. He was unconscious but breathing, and the staff stayed with him until Boston EMS arrived. The victim responded immediately to pain stimuli by EMS. The victim walked to the ambulance with assistance from EMS. The victim was conscious and at some points laughing, but first responders were unable to get any information from him. He was transported by EMS to Boston Medical Center for extreme intoxication. Officer spoke to Mr. Huffman about possible friends or family with the victim. He said there was no one around him, no one inquired about him, and that Officer Leiden notified me, the patrol supervisor. And then my report.
Officer Leiden is on the line if you can hear me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the camera's not working, but I can hear.
Oh, thank you, Officer Leiden. I'm just gonna briefly swear you in if you're planning to testify. I don't think we've done that yet. Can you please raise your right hand since your video isn't working?
Officer Brian Leiden, Boston Police Department.
Thank you, Officer Leiden. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you very much. And who will be?
Yeah, the statements.
There you go.
The statement, Sergeant Medina, was off my report. The only thing I could add was that the staff was helpful, answering all questions and assisting with the victim.
Great. Thank you for that. And Sergeant Medina, were you going to read your supplemental as well?
Yes. So Sergeant Medina and Sergeant Sullivan formed licensed premise check of Jillian's. The license premise check was for the 911 call earlier in the evening for intoxicated patron. Sergeant Medina and Sergeant Sullivan met with Mr. Hoffman, the manager, who assisted Sergeant Medina and Sergeant Sullivan in reviewing all the relevant licenses for Jillian's, which were conspicuously posted. Mr. Hoffman, who originally called the police for assistance, was cooperative with the police. And then license premise inspection issued.
Thank you very much. Attorney Ferrullo, would you like to address the alleged incident?
I would. This incident took place roughly at 9:30 in the evening that night. One of our service staff notified Ryan Huffman, who was the manager on the second level of the premises, that an individual was lying on the floor next to one of the arcade machines. Mr. Huffman and the second manager, Mr. Gaffney, responded to try to determine what his condition was. He was breathing but appeared to be unconscious. They immediately called EMS 911, who responded. As you see from the report, the individual was revived and walked out of the premises with EMS. Our staff, the management staff, checked with the wait staff on that floor, who indicated that none of them recalled seeing this individual earlier or seeing what happened to him to make him lie on the floor. Nor did they recall ever serving him. There was no evidence of any drinks in the vicinity of where the individual was lying. And as mentioned, we called 911 immediately. We have no way of knowing what caused this individual to either collapse or have to be treated by EMS. But as noted, he gave very little information, so we were never able to identify him by name. And by the time we received the notice of the hearing, our 30-day video system had already expired, so we don't have a video of the incident. We're relying on the testimony of our staff.
Thank you for that. I will turn to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
What was the staff cooperative when the police arrived?
Yes, Officer Lyden. They, as soon as I got on scene, they came out to meet me and told me what happened. The victim was walking out with the EMS. He was unsteady. They had to kind of hold his arms, but he was conscious. I tried talking to him. He would just look at me, and sometimes he would laugh. I couldn't find any ID on him, and he couldn't give me his name.
Okay. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Saxon and Commissioner Curran and reserve any other questions for after.
Did you do a check for video at the time that you received the notice?
I did not know.
Did the premises?
As mentioned, when we received the notice, our video had already expired by that time. It's a 30-day, approximately a 30-day loop.
And when did Sergeant Medina come?
Yes, sir. We responded January 2nd, the date of the incident.
Yeah. So when you received the licensed premises inspection notice, did you do a video check then?
No, that same day, you mean?
Yeah, when you were you got the notice that the same day, correct?
Yes. In other words, we did. We spoke to staff. We tried to determine how long this individual might have been there.
Yeah, but no one had seen him, right?
Correct.
Okay, so at that point, did you try to look at video to see if you didn't get any testimony?
The answer is we looked at the video that evening to see if we determined where he was other than the location he was found on the floor. There was very little sighting of him on the premises on the second floor. And other than that, there was nothing significant about seeing him. He didn't appear to be either unsteady or having any kind of a difficulty. And then, as mentioned, he ended up on the side of one of the arcade machines. And that's what it was called to the management's attention.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Did anyone follow up with the patron, either the officers or the establishment?
He wasn't, as the officer mentioned, he had no identification, so we had no way of knowing who he was either that evening or later.
Any further questions from the board?
Danny, I have a question. Do we even, do we know how long he'd even been in there?
We do not. Our door staff is at the door at approximately 8 o'clock in the evening. We inquired of them if they had any knowledge of seeing him come in, or what his condition was. And quite honestly, the answer was no. No one, we don't know what time he arrived. As stated, the only time we saw him on video was just prior to the 9:30 time when one of the staff members called it in.
What is the policy here for IDing people who come in the door? The testimony was that there was no ID on this person.
People requested ID starting at 8 o'clock in the evening.
Okay. Okay, I have no other questions.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling item number 3, which is the same licensee, Lucky Strike Jillian's LLC.
Thank you.
Business as Jillian's Billiard Club located at 145 Ipswich Street. Date of the incident, March 18th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on employee in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. And assault and battery employee on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning again, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, Attorney Ferrillo, on behalf of Jillian's. And once again, we Joseph Spano and Colin Swaney, who are on the call as well as managers.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant James Stoddard.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Sergeant Stoddard, you have not yet been sworn in. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. If you could please proceed with reading the police report into the record.
Okay, sir, this report was authored by Officer Edgar Enriquez at about 1 o'clock a.m. on Saturday, March 18th, 2023. Officer Enriquez responded to an assault report at 3 Lansdowne Street, the Cheeky Monkey Bar. Assisting units were Officer Neenan, Langham, and Doherty. I also arrived on scene a short time after Officer Enriquez. Upon arrival, the officer spoke with the reporting party, Mr. Edward Kazachenko, who stated that the staff threw him out of the bar. As a result, he hit his head on a tree when he was thrown out. The officers then spoke with the Cheeky Monkey staff, who stated that the reporting party was highly intoxicated and was disrespectful toward the bartenders. As a result, he was asked to leave, which he refused to leave, and they had to physically remove him from the bar. The reporting party reported no injuries and refused medical attention on scene. And as a result, I issued the license premise violation, to which the staff was very cooperative. They brought me inside the establishment, and brought me the proper permits, and they cooperated throughout.
Thank you very much. Attorney Ferrillo, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, we submitted a copy of the videos that we were able to garner on this, and I'd like to just walk through it for you. If you've had a chance to look at it, or we'll look at it after the hearing. But this individual approached bartender at the far end of the bar, excuse me, that evening, requested a drink. Bartender prepared a drink, put it on the bar, also put down a slip or a tab for him to pay. What you see in the video is he picks up the tab and he tosses it away, doesn't pick up the drink, turns around, and the bartender taps him on the shoulder once again, tells him that the drink is on the bar and he has to pay the tab. He refuses to pay. The bartender removes the drink, tosses it away. The individual now gets into an argument with the bartender for several minutes, requesting another drink. Bartender refuses the drink because he's being loud and aggressive and belligerent, makes the determination he shouldn't be served. He continues this for a while until such time as the bartender says he can talk to a manager. He goes to the opposite end of the bar. You'll see in the video where Mr. Colin Swady, who's on this call, speaks to him, informs him that he will not be served because the bartender's determined that he shouldn't be served at this point, that he's being abusive to the staff. That goes on, as you will see, for close to 5 minutes, with the two of them just talking at the end of the bar. Mr. Swady then informs Mr. Kosenko that he has to leave. It's time for him to leave the bar. And at this point, two other managers come over. One is Mr. Gaffney, who was mentioned earlier. The other is Juliana. Last name, I believe, is Brunini. The three of them talk to this individual, trying to encourage him to leave, saying that he's not being served, his night is over, and so forth. And what they do is they've been trained is they sort of form a little bit of a wall between him and other patrons, and they start walking him towards the front door. Now, these are two men and the woman that you see earlier. You see the individual talking to other patrons in the bar, but what you'll see in the video is that our staff walks him across the floor towards the front door. And when they get to the front door, he now decides that he wants to come back in. What you see at that point is he turns and starts pushing Mr. Gaffney, grabs his shirt. In turn, Mr. Gaffney holds on to his arm. And as they do this, they actually stumble and fall to the floor right at the front door. Both of them are able to get up, no injuries. And the individual goes outside where he shouts at the staff for a minute or two and then goes across the street to where the MGM venue is and stays on that side of the street until our staff waits outside. The door staff remains, but the management staff waits outside till he appears to be leaving the other side of the street. They go back inside, and it's only later that the police come to speak to them about this. As mentioned, well, it's at this point in time that the individual, although he had no injuries, as we say, not that our staff, as far as falling to the ground at the front door, and it's noted in the police report that doesn't appear to have any injury. Police officers will confirm. He mentioned something about hitting the tree outside, which is a good 20 feet away from the front door. Do have a photograph. I don't know how well you can see it, but we'll send it over to the board later this morning. So that tree is some distance away, so we don't know exactly why he said that, but it didn't happen while he was with our staff. And as mentioned, we provided all the information that the police department has requested. And with that, we'll accept any questions as well as the staff that's on the call.
Thank you, Attorney Ferrullo. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
No, I'm just confirming it is written in the police report that there was no visible injuries.
That's correct.
I'll review the videos. I don't have any questions at this point. Thank you.
Commissioner Carn or Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Had this bartender had any trouble with this patron prior to this interaction with this one drink order?
No, he had it. As the video, what the video shows is the individual is standing with another gentleman and a woman. They're talking, and then he turns and goes over to the bartender at the end of the bar and orders the drink. There didn't seem to be anything amiss at that time. It wasn't until he took the tab and tossed it on the floor and refused to pay for the drink that the bartender now had the opportunity to observe him better.
Okay, thank you.
No additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Calling item number 4, Ride Tub Inc. doing business as the Alley Bar located at 237 to 275 Washington Street. Date of the incident, March 11th, 2023, patron on patron physical violence in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning. I'm Damian Tubbert. I am the owner of the Alley Bar. I believe Courtney Furno, my manager, is here with us via audio only this morning.
Great.
Courtney, are you on?
I do see Ms. Furno's name in the participant list, so I do believe she's with us.
That's a Mr. Courtney Furno.
Oh, sorry, my apologies, Mr. Furno. Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Matt Entwistle.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Great. And just Mr. Furno, I understand you're not able to turn on video for this call. Can you please just affirm to the board that you will raise your right hand when asked to do so? If you're planning on testifying.
He's texting me right now that he's having difficulty. He says he's unmuted his phone, but for some reason he's
There
not.
we go. Sorry, took me a
There we
moment.
go. We can hear you now. All right, Mr. Furno, can you please just affirm to the board you will raise your right hand when asked to do so?
Yes,
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Thank you very much. Officer, if you could please proceed with reading the police report into the record.
About 1:09 p.m. on Saturday, March 11th, 2023, Officer Entwistle and Rooney assigned to the Alpha 102 Alpha responded to a radio call for assault and battery in progress at 14 Pie Alley, Boston, the Alley Bar. Also responding was Officer Lucas and Scott in the Alpha 103. On arrival, officers located the victim, Hugo Montero, who was suffering from a small laceration under his tongue. Montero stated that he was at the bar when he met an unknown male during the night. Montero stated he was kissing the male inside when he was abruptly bit on his tongue. The male then left the bar and did not return. Montero declined any medical assistance from EMS. Officers spoke with security who was familiar with the suspect and provided the following name, Nicky Bimbo. Staff stated Bimbo was a frequent at the bar, but was banned for 3 months last year due to prior incidents. Security stated Bimbo is a medium-build Hispanic male with dark hair. They also advised that Bimbo left the scene prior to officers' arrival. Sergeant Whiteman notified of the Code 35 license premise violation. There is a supplemental report as well, if you would like me to read that.
Yes, please.
So this was written by, I believe, Detective Conley. After speaking with the victim, Hugo de Silva Montero, he reiterated what he stated that night of the incident. About 01:09 hours on 3/11/23, he met the suspect Nicky Bimbo at Pie Alley Bar. Victim states he was kissing the suspect when he was abruptly bit on his tongue. The suspect then left the bar and did not return. Officers on scene spoke to the staff who are familiar with the suspect and provided officers with the suspect's name and date of birth. Staff informed officers the suspect was frequent at the bar, but was banned for 3 months last year prior to incidents. Staff described the suspect as a medium-build Hispanic male with dark hair. Detective Cornelian McDonald conducted a license premise violation at the Alley Bar. Spoke to the manager, Damian Tubret, who informed detectives that he knows the suspect well. He states the suspect has been coming into the establishment for quite some time now. They will hold video for an investigation. Detective Keneally advised Mr. Trubet to follow the video via email. Criminal complaint to be completed and filed to the Boston Municipal Court for a hearing.
Thank you very much. And just quickly before we move to the licensee, I do see Mr. Montero's with us. I neglected to swear you in. So quickly, Mr. Montero, if you're planning to testify, could you please raise your right hand? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. And we will now move to Mr. Tubbert, if you would like to address the alleged incident, please.
Courtney, general manager, he was on the floor at the time. I was in the office. I was made aware by my door person, Will Ferranti, that there was an issue on the floor. the police were called, requested the victim. My understanding, based on the video evidence, Mr. Bimbo put a piece of lemon in his mouth. They were at the bar counter together. They were buying drinks together. And after Mr. Bimbo put the piece of lemon into his mouth, he turned to kiss Mr. Montero, which is when the incident occurred. The video has been provided to Officer Keneally back on March 22nd.
Great, thank you. Anything further, Mr. Tubbert?
No, unless Courtney wants to give you some more information. As I said, he was on the floor at the time.
Just for clarification, Mr. Bimbo, we feel is somewhere on the spectrum of autism. We've had issues with him before with not wanting to pay for food because he changed his mind on what food he wanted to consume, as well as entering private events, birthday parties, things like that, areas that are closed for private events, and he'll go in, and that was the reason for him being barred in the past. But it was a limited 3-month barring after he tried to go into several different closed events.
Thank you for that. Quick, before we move to questions from the board, Mr. Montero, is there any additional information you would like to provide? Well, let me ask you you're on mute right now.
No, it's just like, you know, it was my first time at the bar because I just moved from Florida to Boston, and I was just enjoying my time there, you know, dancing, and I just saw this individual coming to me, and, you know, as far as what I remember, it's he just bit my tongue. I was like bleeding all over the floor, and then the security came, and I was trying to point like I did, but I can barely remember. Like I rarely remember things. Like it was so fast. So.
Thank you for that. Let's move to questions from the board. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Yes, who called the police?
We did after the request from Mr. Montero.
Okay. And you said that this person was banned for 3 months in the prior year.
Prior to this time, yes.
Okay. Had he been back? Was this one of the
He
first times
had been back before this event.
Okay. And the nature of him being banned the year before, did it have anything similar? You said it was for like not paying his food and stuff, but was it for any sort of assault or anything?
So there were several incidences, mostly regarding entering private events. We had one incident that I dealt with directly where he had ordered a hamburger, and as it came out, he's like, "Oh, I don't want this hamburger. I want a pizza instead." And we were like, "Well, here's the hamburger. You know, we could wrap it to go, but you know, you ordered it. And he's like, "I don't want to do that. I want a pizza. I don't want to pay for the hamburger." So at that point, we asked him to leave. We did not bar him at that point. We just told him he had to leave for the day.
And what is his status with the license premise now? Is he able to come back in, or have you banned him again?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Is he allowed back into your licensed premise now?
No, he's now been permanently barred.
Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions at this time. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
Nothing additional from me. Thank you.
No questions from me either. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this under advisement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling item number 5, GSI Shawmut LLC, doing business as Kava, located at 315 Shawmut Ave. Date of the incident, March 12th, 2023, controlled substances violation in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Alan Levin. I'm here on behalf of GSI Shawmut LLC. I'm also here with the manager, George Axiotis. And maybe Irakli Gogaditsi. I'm not sure if he's with Mr. Axiotis.
He's here.
Okay.
Great.
Good morning, all.
Good morning. Thank you very much. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Fencer. And Officer O'Donnell.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Officer O'Donnell, it appears you are not able to turn your camera on. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Could you please affirm to the board that you will turn on your camera when asked to do so?
I'm having issues with it. It doesn't seem to be working.
No worries. If you could just please raise your right hand right now when we ask you to do so.
Okay.
Thank you. Could you all please raise your right hand? And do we have Mr. Gogaditse on camera as well?
Yes, he's right.
Great.
All right.
Thank you. No worries. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
I do.
Thank you very much. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
Officer O'Donnell.
Great. Thank you. You may please proceed.
Okay, on March 14, 2023, Officer O'Donnell, while assigned to the front desk at District 4, took a walk-in investigate persons report from Ms. Sandra Lopez Rodriguez with the assistance of Officer Pagan translating. The victim stated that she was working on 3/12 of 23 at approximately 9 p.m. at Cava Neo Taverna, located at 315 Sharmat Ave. At that time, a co-worker, Rogerio, gave her some chocolate which the victim consumed. Unbeknownst to her, the chocolate bar was infused with cannabis. The victim stated that later that night she felt dizzy and had chest pain. The co-worker who provided the chocolate bar offered to drive her home, but she declined. Another co-worker, Freddie, stayed with her until her ride came. Maria Fernanda, another co-worker, told the victim that the chocolate bar was cannabis infused. The victim stated that Rogerio, quote, asked for forgiveness, and Chris, an acting manager at the restaurant, was aware of the incident.
Thank you very much. And Detective Fencer, it looks like there is a secondary report.
That's correct.
Thank you. If you could please read that in.
Yes, on 3/16/2023, Detective Fencer in the Delta 801 and Detective Texera in the Delta 820 responded to the Cava Tavern located at 315 Sharmat Ave and issued license premise inspection notice citation 026490 for controlled substance violation. Upon further investigation into this incident, Detective Fencer in the Delta 801 spoke with the victim via Officer Pagan, acting as an interpreter, who stated on the night of the incident, her manager, later identified as Rogerio Roca, had given her a chocolate bar, which made her feel as if she were drugged. The victim provided text messages that the suspect had sent to her from his cell phone, 339-222-7544, regarding the incident. Detective Fencer conducted a search of the suspect's cell phone, 339-222-7544, with the Boston Police Regional Intelligence Center, which revealed that the cell phone number was registered to Rogerio Roca, date of birth 11/12/1978, with a driver's license number of Sierra 990-80748. On 3/23/2023, Detective Fencer conducted a photo ID with the victim, Sandra Lopez Rodriguez, who positively identified the suspect as, she said, Rogelio, and stated that she had worked with the suspect for about 10 months. The ID photo was taken from a Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles driver's license photo of Mr. Roca, queried by Detective Fencer. And after further investigation into this incident, Detective Fencer sought a complaint out of Boston Municipal Court against Rogerio Roca for an assault and battery providing food with a foreign substance.
Thank you very much. Attorney Levin, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Sure, thank you. So Mr. Roca had been employed at Cava for approximately 4 years. He's, I guess you'd term him as the head server. This was a Sunday night. Apparently, at some point during the evening, Mr. Roca was in a conversation with a patron and was discussing the fact that he had a bad back. The patron at some point then offered him a chocolate edible. Later on in that evening, Mr. Roca offered a piece of the chocolate to Ms. Rodriguez, who he's known for and been termed to be very friendly with at the restaurant. I do want to point out, just in case there's any sort of question here, that Mr. Roca is gay. This was not a situation where he was trying to roofie her as to get some sort of a sexual favor later on in the evening. Apparently, according to Mr. Roca, he thought that Miss Rodriguez knew that this was an infused edible. He termed it as a special chocolate when he gave it to her, to which he accepted. Apparently, she did have some sort of a adverse reaction. The manager on the liquor license is Mr. Axios. The manager on duty usually is a Mr. Soteri. Apparently, I don't know if he was there that night, but Mr. Roca did inform Mr. Soteri about what had happened. He said he was very apologetic about it. Mr. Soteri immediately informed Mr. Axiotis, who had a conversation with Mr. Roca, and he had a conversation with Miss Rodriguez. According to Miss Rodriguez, everything was fine. Mr. Roca was immediately suspended. He's not been back since. This seems to have been some sort of an isolated incident between the two. They have a strict policy about no drugs being on premises, and they continue to have that policy. Mr. Roca has had no previous incidents in his 4 years of employment. And as I say, he was immediately suspended and has not been back to work since.
Thank you very much. We'll move to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Carn or Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
None from me either. Thanks.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well.
Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you. Calling item number 6, Game On Fenway LLC, doing business as Game On Sports Cafe located at 72 to 82 Lansdowne Street, date of the incident March 12th, 2023, serving minors in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34 to 34A, 41, 64, 64A, and Board's Rule 1.08F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this morning, Mark Cosby, the security manager, Alina Fluker, also on security for the establishment, Sarah Palmer, who's the general manager, and Carlos Padrita, who's the manager on duty, and Katina Corpines, who is the risk manager. Not all of these folks will need to testify, but just in case, we wanted them present. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Nancy Salucci.
Sergeant, are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Oh, Mr. Padrita, if you could also please raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sergeant Salucci, if you could please proceed with reading the police report into the record.
The report was written by Officer Patrick Jenner about 12:35 a.m. on Sunday morning, March 12th of 23. Officer Jenner and Henriquez, assigned to the Delta 105 Alpha, responded to a radio call to investigate a person's well-being after a possible drink spiking incident at Game On, located at 82 Lansdowne Street. Also assisting on the call was myself. Upon arrival to the scene, officers met with Mark Cosby, who reported that he is the manager of security here at Game On. Mr. Cosby reported that he witnessed 2 males attempting to leave out the back door of the bar with an extremely intoxicated female. Mr. Crosby reported that he confronted this group to advise them that they must leave out the front door, but when he approached them, the 2 males immediately walked away from the female and told Mr. Cosby that they did not know her. Mr. Cosby reported that due to the odd behavior exhibited from the two male suspects, he called 911 out of fear that the female may have been drugged. My apologies. The name keeps going back and forth from Cosby to Crosby. I believe Cosby is the correct name. Mr. Cosby also gave officers what he believes to be 3 fake IDs that one of the suspects was in possession of. Officers then made contact with 2 males identified as Samuel Fury and James Theodore Smith. Both males reported that they did not know the female prior to the incident, but were with her for some part of the night inside of Game On. Officers then spoke with the female victim, Catherine O'Hara, who officers did observe to be unsteady on her feet with slurred speech and an odor of alcohol on her breath. When officers asked Miss O'Hara if anything happened to her tonight, she reported that nothing happened and there was nothing to report. Officers did request EMS to the scene, and ambulance 4 arrived with EMTs Feeney and Wickham, and they evaluated the victim. EMS reported they believed Miss O'Hara to be intoxicated, but they did not suspect any other drugs to be involved. Due to Miss O'Hara's being intoxicated and not being able to safely walk on her own, EMS transported her to Boston Beth Israel Hospital. The 3 suspected fake IDs that Mr. Fury was in possession of were confiscated and logged into evidence at D4. Items were logged into evidence property book number 4-10 on page 106. License premise was also completed by Sergeant Salucci. License citation number is 00497.
Thank you very much, Sergeant. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, Sergeant, thank you very much. Did the management cooperate with you on the night in question?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, was Mr. Cosby who A, called 911 and B, turned over these 3 false identification cards to the police?
I believe he called, but I don't recall if it was him that turned the identifications over.
I just, in the report you just read it on the top of page 2, says
Yeah.
Mr. Cosby gave officers what he believed to be 3 fake IDs that one of the suspects was in possession.
Yes,
And
I'm
according to
not
the
sure.
report, okay.
I'm
To
not
the
sure
best
which.
of your knowledge, that's correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. The 2 of the 3 IDs were Massachusetts licenses, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. May I, Madam Chair? Thank you. We have Mr. Cosby here, who really is the lead witness. He indeed observed these people. You'll see from the video, which will provide, that the establishment suspected that one of the males had passed something off to the female, after which she exhibited these intoxicated kind of behaviors, if you will. To our knowledge, she literally had 1 or 2 drinks, one of which she didn't finish. And again, we observed on the video something that we thought was a pass off of some substance, which she then ingested. We assumed she ingested, but it was after that that she became, had her difficulties, if you will, health-wise. Mr. Cosby observed this, made the call to 911. The thought at the moment was that these 2 individuals were trying to take this woman out the back door for whatever reason, but he just suspected something and stopped it from happening. He then, stopped the individuals. He confiscated these IDs. He called 911 and stood by and assisted with other staff. The security people, the management people were all on duty, and worked together with the police to do everything they could to help this woman. Again, our thought was that she was being taken out, and they were afraid that something untoward might happen, so they stopped it from occurring. And again, at that point, called and dealt with the police until she was taken out to the hospital. citation is for service of minors. We don't have any testimony to that effect. I think on the tape, you may see that they had beverages. You'll also see that they were identified before entering the establishment. We believe the two males had the two Massachusetts IDs. But again, they were checked on entry, as was the woman. The woman, to the best of our knowledge, is of age. And that really is everything that we have. We have all of the individuals here. Perhaps Mr. Cosby, just to briefly tell you, he's the central player here, perhaps just to tell you in his own words what occurred would be helpful. Mr. Cosby? Just unmute yourself, please. Mark, you have to unmute yourself. There you go. Thank you. Having been sworn, would you please identify yourself?
Mark Cosby, gang security manager.
Okay, and were you on duty in the night in question?
Yes, sir.
And did you observe the individuals involved in this incident? And if so, can you tell the board what happened, what occurred?
Yes, on Saturday, 3/11, sometime at midnight, I was alerted by my security staff that there was a female patron upstairs thrown up at the bar, and that the personnel would be needed to assist. Upon the arrival at the upstairs bar, I immediately observed a group of 3 patrons, 2 men and 1 woman, surrounding a young lady who appeared to be vomited into a bucket on the bar. The young woman with red hair was speculating that the woman vomiting had been drugged. I immediately alerted my superiors of the situation, as well as the bar manager on duty, and we began to follow the emergency directives by calling 911. I believe that was at 12:38. Questioned the group as well, asking for identification, in which the male patrons refused to provide me and began pleading and trying to leave the building. Because of the seriousness of the situation, I stopped them and started searching both patrons for identification. Upon completing my search, I found both young men to be in possession of 3 IDs, 1 real Mass ID, 1 fake Mass, and 1 out-of-state ID. Each as well, both of the young men both had Providence College school badges as well. I was told at one point by the group that none of them knew each other, nor did they know the young woman. They were all there just to assist. So myself and my security, my security that was in the back hall had informed me that that was a lie, because he had redirected them from exiting the bar through the back hall. So at that point, the police arrived and my director as well, and I turned it over to my security director as well as the police.
And Mr. Crosby, in your opinion, did you cooperate with the police and do everything you could to assist these individuals or this woman?
I feel I did, yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. The board may have some questions for you.
I just want to make sure I understood it correctly. The 2 Massachusetts IDs that were presented at the door also had Providence College student IDs?
So the 2 males that were in possession of the 2 fake Massachusetts IDs, both of those males had Providence College IDs, although they were claiming that they didn't know each other.
Okay, so who was working the door that night? Is that person here?
Katina, do we have the person at the door, whoever checked IDs?
We do not.
Okay, but we do have, it is
But
visible.
we do
on
have
the-
surveillance. We
on
do
the
have surveillance of them
Okay,
being
and you'll
checked.
forward that to us?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So you're saying, when you're saying they claimed they didn't know each other, you're saying that that after this incident or at the door or something?
So on security footage, you can observe the group together throughout at the time of this situation. When I began them, they said that they didn't know each other, nor did they know the girl.
Okay, I got you. Thank you. And were any of these people familiar to staff here? Were they regulars in any way?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Are you gonna provide video of them together at the bar, all as a group too?
Yes, there is there is about 18 different camera angles that we will be providing. I watched the video. I worked on putting together the video to send to you all last week. It will show you them entering Game On, which was approximately about 11:15, and essentially it will take you through, the video will take you through their entire stay up until when the female patron became ill. And that will also show that once that you see her becoming ill, that will show you everything that the staff did and that Mr. Cosby testified to, as well. That also includes when the police arrived and the EMTs arrived. So it is a lot of surveillance that you will be watching. And I have created a narrative and listed the order of the cameras that you should watch it in, so you can kind of see it consecutively.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
No questions at this time. I'll wait the video. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll be on the lookout for that video and the narrative. I'll make sure that's provided to the board as well. Thank you. And
Thank
with
you.
that, we'll take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 7, Tastes on the Fly Logan LLC, doing business as Davio's, located at Logan Airport Terminal C in East Boston. Date of the incident, December 24th, 2022, over service of alcohol to patrons in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Yes, good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chairwoman and Chip. My name is Al Di Napoli. I represent Taste on the Fly, and with me today we have Nathan Cardiano, who is one of the general managers at Davio's. We also Antonio Alicea, who is the manager of record. I don't think either one of them will need to testify. However, they're here to take any questions you may have. But we have Erin Gianangeli, and I hope I said that right as a fellow Italian. But she was the manager on duty that night, and she will testify.
Thank you very much. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am. Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Thank you. And Mr. Candiano, is it possible to turn your camera on so we can swear you in? Perfect. Can you all please raise your right hand? Mr. Alicea.
Excuse me, Aaron, you need to raise your right hand.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed with reading the police report into the record.
Good morning. I'm going to first start off with a police report written by the state police. On Saturday, December 24th, 2022, I Trooper Hijo Haisa was assigned to Zone 4 Terminal C. At approximately 9:05 p.m., F Troop dispatch received a call from Davio's restaurant of a female vomiting. Shortly after, it was reported the two females moved from the restaurant towards the female bathroom while both vomiting. Massport Fire and Boston EMS were dispatched. Sergeant Lopes and I responded as well. Upon arrival, Boston EMS was canceled by Massport Fire. Sergeant Lopes and I went over to check on the females. The two females were being examined by Massport Fire. The females were identified as Sorensen Carissa and Plute Courtney. Both females appeared very intoxicated, had vomited all over their clothing, and were delirious. They were crying and sobbing and kept apologizing. Both females reported that they had a flight earlier in the day, which was delayed to 4 p.m., then delayed again until 6 p.m., and finally they delayed again until a later time. Both females stated they were at Davio's restaurant drinking and eating food in the meantime. Sergeant Lopes went over to Davio's restaurant and spoke with the restaurant's manager, Erin Gianna Jelly. Sorry if I butchered that, but the manager stated that the two females were sitting together since approximately 3 p.m. The manager reported that the females ordered multiple alcoholic beverages. Upon request, the manager provided Sergeant Lopes with an itemized receipt of what the two females purchased. The itemized receipt revealed that both females ordered 9 alcoholic beverages. See receipt attached. Alcoholic beverages range from 7 St. Juniper gin, 1 Amarena martini bourbon, and 1 margarita tequila. Due to their intoxicated state, JetBlue manager removed them from the flight. JetBlue manager reported both females the next day. Both females were placed in a taxi and then headed back home in Somerville for the night. Sergeant Lopes will forward the report to the Boston Licensing Board for further review. The above report is merely a summary. Body worn camera digital footage is available. And there is the Davio's receipt is attached to this with all the above stated drinks and the food that was on there. And then our Boston Police report at about 1:11, excuse me, on 1:11. This was written by Sergeant Gallagher. On 1/11/2023 at about 5:02 p.m. Lieutenant Detective Adrian Toy, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned, along with the Mass State Police Trooper Ambrosky, conducted a license premise inspection of Davio's at Logan Airport Terminal C. This inspection came about because of a Mass State Police Report 2022 of 510613 written on 12/4/2022 by MSP Trooper Heisa. Trooper Heisa's report stated that he responded to Davio's Terminal C for the report of a female vomiting. Trooper Heisa was accompanied by MSP Sergeant Lopes and Massport Fire. Troopers and fire were told on arrival that 2 females were now in the restroom, both vomiting. Both females were reported to be very intoxicated. Both females stated to troopers that they were at Davio's and had ordered food and drinks while waiting for delayed flights. Sergeant Lopes' investigation revealed that each female had ordered a total of 9 alcoholic drinks during that time. Sergeant Detective Gallagher spoke with the manager, Ronnie True, on the evening of 1/11/23 and about the incident and the importance of monitoring how much alcohol is being consumed by patrons. The manager stated he would speak to staff about the incident. As a result of the December 24th incident, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license permit inspection notice 060102 to Davio's for overservice of alcohol to patrons. The manager, Ronnie True, signed for and accepted the notice. That's all.
Thank you very much. Attorney DiNapoli, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, I'd like to just ask Detective Hernandez just a couple of questions, if I may. Detective Hernandez, you were at the inspection on 1/11/2023, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was management cooperative?
Very.
Okay, thank you. And did you review the receipt of drinks and food, which was reported in the state police report?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I do. I have it right here.
Okay. And the number of drinks on that receipt is how many?
Looks like it's 7, 8, 9. Yep, 9 drinks.
And on that report, the guest count is how many?
2.
2. So this receipt was for 2 patrons?
I mean, that's what it says, yes.
Okay. And the receipt shows that the total bill was for 9 drinks and some various food, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Detective. I'd like to ask the manager on record some questions, if I may. Erin, could you please state your full name for the record?
Erin Jean
You have to speak up a little, Erin.
Angeli.
Okay, and what's your position with Taste on the Fly?
I am a floor manager.
Okay, and how long have you been there?
A year and 4 months almost.
And could you talk about the educational training that you received and employees receive at Taste on the Fly regarding alcohol service?
Yeah, absolutely. So of course, all of our employees, including managers, have to be tip certified. We regularly touch on those topics for pre-shift often with our team, making sure we go over, especially with the bartenders and servers, that they're using jiggers for bartenders, because we pour into the jiggers to make sure we're calculating how much alcohol is going into the drinks, making sure that servers and bartenders are aware of the signs of intoxication, making sure that they know kind of when to involve a manager and things like that.
And were you working on the night of the incident?
I was.
And what were your responsibilities that night?
So my responsibilities were to kind of to oversee everything, all the employees, the whole operation. I was food running, I was checking in with the host, I was bussing tables, so I was kind of throughout the entire restaurant. I was at the bar, checking in with them, just kind of everywhere, checking in with guests, running food, like I said, bussing
Now-
tables.
Now, who was the server at this table that night?
So the server that night was Shuli.
And is she still with Taste on the Fly?
She is not.
Okay. And was she terminated because of this incident?
No, completely separate.
So you heard Detective Hennessy talk about a receipt for the food and beverages that were served that night. And see if I can show you, but there was a receipt that was produced to the detective. You recall that?
Yes,
And that receipt, it was just that receipt has for how many guests?
for 2 guests.
And this receipt is produced from the POS system that you have on site?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's another receipt, and this was provided to the commission and the board later that is has dates and times along the sides. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, and this was also produced out of the POS, or is this from the computer that backs up the POS?
Yes, from the back system compete. Yeah.
Okay, and the amount and information on both of them are the same, correct?
Yes.
The only thing that's different is it shows the times that the service was made, correct?
Yes.
And this one receipt is for 2 people?
Yes.
And how many drinks did 2 have in total?
So the 2 guests in total had 9 drinks.
So
One had-
not each guest received 9 drinks, as the police report says. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And also, did they have food?
Yes, they had several meals throughout their time with us.
Okay, and how long? I mean, this guest check shows the time that they entered and the time that they had their last beverage. What time does it show that they first sat down?
So they were sat down at 3 o'clock.
Okay, and they had their last service of food at what time?
The last service of food was at 7:09 p.m.
Okay, and what do they have at 7 o'clock?
So at 7:03, they ordered a San Marzano pizza, and at 7:09, they ordered a kid's burger.
Okay, and also right before that 7 o'clock, they were served 1 drink at 6:56. Is that correct?
Correct.
So about 7 o'clock, one of the patrons had their last drink. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then an hour later, an hour after the food, another patron was served her last drink. Is that correct?
Yes, at 8:03.
Okay. Now, you've an opportunity to observe them during the course of the evening.
Yes.
And what was? Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, so I saw them come in, I saw them sit down. I was helping our busser out that night. So I was around the area, constantly seeing them all night. I went by their table. I'm pretty sure I dropped off their shrimp fusilli to them. I made sure to check in with them about the shrimp fusilli. I remember that specifically. They said everything was fine. And the server I know did check in with them multiple times as well. But I was around the area, constantly going back and forth, dropping food, bussing the tables around them. And I pretty much did have an eye on them the whole time.
And did you trained in the signs of intoxication?
Yeah.
Did you observe any signs of intoxication at any time with these individuals prior to 9 o'clock when the police were called?
No.
Okay. At 7 o'clock, when one of the customers had her last alcoholic beverage, did you observe any signs of intoxication around that time?
No.
And at 8 o'clock, when the next patron had her last alcoholic beverage, did you observe any signs of intoxication at that point? And who called the police?
I did.
Okay. And what time was that?
probably around 9.
Okay, so that was 2 hours after one patron had her last drink, is that correct?
Yes.
And that was an hour after one of the other patrons had her last alcoholic beverage, is that correct?
Correct.
I have no further questions, no, commissioners?
Thank you, Attorney DiNapoli. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Can you tell me what kind of training you did following this incident? It states in the police report that you were going to talk, someone was going to talk to the staff about this.
Yeah, so we always implement with our pre-shift, just talking about the signs of intoxication. So making sure, like I said before, when to involve a manager, the signs, of course, like them being aggravated, just slurring their words. Obviously, if the server has served them, you know, quite a few, to make sure to keep an eye out. And if they've served them too much, to just not continue serving them, of course. And how to cut off a customer involving a manager, things like that.
Do you have a maximum number of drinks a person can be served while they sit there?
Roughly, I want to say 2 an hour. I mean, that's pretty much what people get, and then they're come and go, so they don't really have a lot of time to sit.
Okay, I don't have any further questions.
I have nothing additional. Thank you.
Nothing for me either. Thank you.
May I make, Attorney Green, may I make just a couple of comments?
You may.
Thank you very much. You know, the fact is that 2 hours passed before the when one of the patrons had their last drink, before she was seen vomiting, and another one was an hour past. No one has stated to seen signs of intoxication at the time that they were served. I think it's very coincidental that 2 at 9 o'clock, 1 2 hours later, 1 an hour later, both were vomiting. It could have been food. It could have been something else they'd taken, thinking that their flight was going to take off. They may have taken some, we don't know, but you know, what they may have taken that may have upset their stomach. But the fact is that 2 hours passed, and then an hour passed for another one, and then they both vomited at the same time. It seems very coincidental that something else may have happened. They certainly did vomit, but the police dismissed the EMS, and they sent them back in a taxi cab home. There's no report of any, field sobriety. There's no report of any blood alcohol testing. Jason the Fly has been at the airport for many years. I believe this is their first incident. And I think that there's, not enough evidence to show that they were served alcoholic beverages and at the time that they were intoxicated, with all these questions still, hanging, out there as to what the situation was. So I ask that, the board take, as I'm sure they will, take that all in consideration, take consideration that Jason the Fly and has not had any other issues, and that and find that there was not a violation of the provision here about serving someone while they're intoxicated. And if we're to find a finding, that a warning be issued as opposed to any suspension. And I thank the commission for its time.
Thank you for that. Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 8, The Next Place LLC, doing business as The Greatest Bar, located at 262 to 266 Friend Street, dated the incident December 10th, 2022. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34A, 34C, and 6464A. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Kurt Bletzer on behalf of Next Place LLC. And with me also is Dan Crowley, one of the managers of the establishment.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Detective
Gotta
Hernandez.
mute yourself, Dan.
Sorry?
Mr. Crowley, you gotta unmute yourself there. You're muted, Dan.
Okay, all set.
Great, thank you. All set, he's been sworn in. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'm reading from a police report, which I wrote on Saturday, December 10th, 2022. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the PPD licensed premise unit conducted a licensed premise inspection of the Greatest Bar located at 262 Friend Street in Boston. As detectives were walking through the establishment, they observed two young-looking patrons still drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. Both patrons immediately stated that they were under 21 years of age. Both patrons later identified as Leon Sion, 3/18 of 2003, and Aaron Ackerman of 5/29 of 2003, initially provided detectives with a Mexico driver's license, which contained their correct names, but displayed a date of birth that made it appear that they were over 21 years of age. The fraudulent driver's license were confiscated by detectives. Both individuals will be summoned to court for persons under 21 possession of alcohol and possession of fraudulent identification. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Craig Henry. As a result of what was observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 059989 for persons under 21 possession of alcohol on premise. Mr. Henry signed for accepted notice. So,
Thank you very much. Attorney Bletzer, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Would please. Detective Hernandez, was the staff cooperative with you that night?
yes, sir.
Thank you. If I may, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dan Crowley is with me today, manager that works at the establishment. He has had meetings. He talked to the staff that evening about the proper identification that can be relied on by the staff. They understand the 6 items that are that they can rely on. They did talk to the individual that was at the door that night who had taken the out-of-state licenses. He did ask for secondary information identification, but they have had more training and more staff meetings with all of the employees to explain what identification can be relied on by staff when taking identification. They are using more and more passports and not taking the out-of-state identifications if there's any question about somebody's age and any question about their looks. I know these folks were close to 21, but they were not there yet. And they will make sure in the future to be more diligent in making sure that nobody enters that is underage and has the proper identification.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Detective Hernandez, you, in the police report states that they looked young.
Yes, ma'am.
How young did they look?
It definitely did not look like they were 21.
Okay. Do we know how old they were? Oh, it says right here, 2003. Okay, 20. Okay, all right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Carr and Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None for me, thank you.
None for me, thank you.
Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you.
Thank
Board will
you.
take this under advisement as well. Calling item number 9, Korean Fusion Inc. doing business as Koi, located at 16 to 18 North Street, date of the incident January 24th, 2023. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34A, 34C, and 6464A. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning. Thank you, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board, John Iada, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller, 28 State Street. Joining me is the on-duty manager, Kilder Cardona, as well as the owner and manager of record, Katarina Chang. I believe they're on one phone or computer, so they're together.
Yes, I see them both. Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Now, please raise your right hand. Do Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, once again, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning again. I'll be reading from police report, which I wrote on Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned the BPD license from went to deliver a hearing notice to Koi Restaurant located at 16 North Street in Boston. As detectives were walking through the establishment, they observed 3 young-looking patrons drinking alcoholic beverages at a table. Detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. Initially, the patrons stated they were 21 years of age, and 2 of the patrons provided detectives with their driver licenses. Both patrons later identified as William Zhang, 9/8 of 2004, Miles Pines, 4/16 of 2004, provided detectives with their driver's licenses, which contained their correct names, but it displayed date of birth made appear as though they were over 21 years of age. Detectives used a license verification app, which did confirm that the driver's licenses were indeed fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's license were confiscated by detectives. The third patron did eventually provide her driver's license and was identified as Alana Lee, 1/24/2004. It should be noted that the patrons stated that staff did not ask them for identification. The manager, Kilder Cardona, was able to confirm that staff did not ask the patrons for identification. Mr. Zhang and Mr. Pines will be summoned to the court for persons under 21 possession of alcohol and false misuse of an R&B document. Ms. Lee will be summoned to the court for persons under 21 possession of alcohol. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued a license for inspection notice 060125 for persons under 21 possession of alcohol. Mr. Cardona signed for an accepted notice. That's all.
Thank you. Attorney Aida, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Just briefly, did the staff cooperate with you during your investigation that evening?
Yes, sir, they did.
And the licenses that were confiscated, were those Massachusetts licenses?
I don't have them on hand with me, but they were licenses. I don't know what they were.
Okay. So if I may, Madam Chair, and board members, so Mr. Cardona, who is present, does have firsthand knowledge. Ms. Chang, who is the owner and manager of record, did speak to staff after this incident, can address that. But briefly, Mr. Cardona's testimony would be that he previously checked the IDs of the 2 males on a prior occasion, as they had been patrons at Koi before, and he did recognize them. They were familiar to him. The female patron that was with them did not order any alcoholic beverages that evening, and was admittedly not carded by the staff. And we're not disputing the fact that at the time the officers were present at the establishment, that they did see all 3 individuals with alcoholic beverages. It's therefore likely that one of the males passed off a drink to the female at that time. But Mr. Cardona has over 14 years experience in the restaurant and bar industry. And it was his opinion, based on his experience and training, that the IDs that he had previously seen were legitimate IDs, and it showed the males to be of legal drinking age. Obviously, there was an issue in this case, as it turned out to be fraudulent IDs. So following this incident, both Mr. Cardona and Ms. Chang met with all staff members. They all underwent recertification of the TIPS program. And before every shift, they still meet with the staff members to review their policies and procedures. As I stated, both Mr. Cardona and Ms. Chang are present if you had any questions for them.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions of the licensee or Detective Hernandez?
I want to put out on the record, 2 of these people were 18, one was 19. For the person from Koi, the police report says that 2 of these people had been here before. How do you know that? Are you familiar with all your guests?
Soon. I do recall seeing them before at the restaurant when they had come in. It was just the 2 individuals. They were very respectful, asked for recommendations. Nothing really threw me off about them. It's tough to judge anybody just by looking at them because, you know, you can have somebody that's 25 years old that looks 14 or somebody that's 14 that looks 25 years old. So no matter what, I asked for an ID. I saw their IDs. They engaged in conversation with me. They were very polite. And I do recall seeing both of them from one prior occasion.
I have no other questions. Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon.
No questions for me. Thank you.
None for me either, thank you.
Thank you. Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 10, Broadway Social Wines, Inc., doing business as Social Wines, located at 52 West Broadway in South Boston. Date of the incident, March 19th, 2023. Service of alcohol to persons under 21 in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34 to 34A, 41, 64 to 64A, and Board's Rule 1.08F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Oh, hang on, you're on mute right now. I'm going to ask you on mute.
Myself, Eileen Elliott, the manager that was there that day.
Great, thank you, Ms. Elliott. Who's present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
No.
Thank you. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Thank you very much. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed once again with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading again from a report which I wrote on Sunday, March 19th, 2023. Lieutenant Detective Adrian Choi, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the BPD license premise unit, along with Sergeant Detective McDougal, Detective Maldonado, Detective Kelly, were conducted a license premise inspection of Social Wines located at 52 West Broadway West Broadway in South Boston. As detectives walked in the store, detectives noticed two patrons walking away from the register with alcoholic beverages. Detectives noticed these males appeared young, and detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. The two individuals, later identified as Gabrielle Schwab, age 15 of 2004, and Kyle Johnson, 11/28/2003, provided detectives with Colombian driver's licenses as their former identifications. Detectives used a license verification app which confirmed that the driver's license provided were by Ms. Schwab and Johnson were fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's license were confiscated by detectives. Mr. Johnson was also found to be in possession of a fraudulent Pennsylvania driver's license. Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Schwab will be summoned to the court for false misuse of a license and for persons under 21 possession of alcohol. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant and Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 02733828 to Social Wines for service of alcohol to persons under 21 years of age. Person in charge, Ms. Eileen Elliott, signed for an accepted notice. That's all.
Thank you very much. Ms. Elliott, would you like to address the alleged incident?
It was the St. Patrick's Day parade, and I went absolutely out of my way. Like the whole staff, we were all on the same page. No service to minors, obviously, ever. I must have had 12 signs in the window lining A Street, no public drinking, 21 plus allowed in the store, must show ID, and the ID that the two guests showed at the front door. I had a door person on that was a very experienced door person. This was the third parade that he worked for us with 10 years of door experience. He also is employed, he's also our delivery driver part-time. And for the last 2 years, we've had no incident, like parade day success. And then just this one time, for the door person took the Pennsylvania ID, and then the kid came in and was able to purchase alcohol, and it's just not on par with what we do ever. And the whole staff knows that. We have the most experienced staff on our register, like has you check dates, and like before you can check anyone out, is this person's ID to date? And it was the most unfortunate thing that's happened at Social Wines. So.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. We'll turn it over to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
How does the door person check IDs? Is it a visual ID?
It was just the visual, yeah. And in the future, that we'll always have a scanner if we're even open for parade day, for that matter.
Okay. No questions, Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon?
No questions for me. Thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you. And calling item number 11, Love Child LLC, doing business as Love Child, located at 364 West Broadway in South Boston, date of the incident March 19th, 2023. Patrons drinking alcohol inside retail package store in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
I am Crystal Mills, owner of Love Child and also the manager of our liquor license.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Colleen Dunleavy, co-owner of Love Child.
Thank you. Could you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'm reading from a police report which Sergeant Gallagher wrote on 3/19/2023 at about 1:36 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the licensed premise unit under the direction of Lieutenant Detective Adrian Choi, along with Sergeant Detective McDougal, Detectives Maldonado and Kelly were assigned to monitor all the liquor stores and bars during the St. Patrick's Day Parade. As detectives entered Love Child at 364 West Broadway, which has a retail package license, they observed 3 females purchase alcohol and opened the containers were still inside. Detectives intervened as a patron started to drink. Detectives asked to speak with the manager with regards to their observations. Sergeant Detective Gallagher was able to speak with manager Crystal Mills about his observations, was able to point out the 3 females that were now standing in front of Love Child with their open containers. As the detectives were able to identify the 3 females, it's Madison Raycroft, Safia Ali, and Elena Lukavina. Detectives confiscated and disposed of the open containers. The 3 females will be summoned to court for public drinking. In addition, detectives observed 2 males behind the counter drinking from solo cups. Sergeant Detective Gallagher informed Ms. Mills that there should be no open consumption of alcohol inside a retail package store. As a result of what was observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premises inspection notice 027332 to Love Child for patrons drinking alcohol inside retail package store. Ms. Mills, Ms. Crystal Mills signed for and accepted the notice. That is all.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mills, Ms. Dunleavy, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, so as he mentioned, so this was our first actual St. Patrick's Day parade being open as newly having our liquor license. It was obviously chaos in South Boston. We took, to what we thought were the best measures. We had a meeting with our staff the entire week before. We even had a pre-shift meeting. All of our employees are tip certified as well. And obviously this violation is for somebody opening up the store. But in addition to mitigate, we actually closed off our store, which is about 900 square feet, to roughly 10 by 10 space to just limit people from actually coming into the store. We did have somebody by the door, and it was actually my responsibility of watching the door. And honestly, it got so busy in there. And then at the time that I think like 4 of the officers had walked in, and it was just the right time, I guess, of whenever these 3 young women had likely cracked open the can and then like stepped 1 foot outside. We also had signage all over the outside of our window about not drinking, certainly not opening up anything in the store, about proper IDing, not accepting out-of-state IDs, like a number of things like that. And I was able to point out to the officers who the young women were. And then after the violation and visiting with the officer, we did end up putting up even more signage. We put somebody permanently just like standing by the door. And we also ended up closing an hour early because it just got a bit too crazy for, little kind of family-owned shop like ours. We also, have already begun to think about plans for next year as well, including a professional ID checker and or just like somebody physically there by our front door that would definitely be able to control anybody at the point that they're inside the store.
Thank you. Anything further from either you or Ms. Dunleavy before the board gets to questions?
I just want to reiterate how seriously we took preparation, and as Crystal mentioned, preparing our staff while people were shopping. We were also reminding people we are a package store because there are so many out of town people there for the parade. We were putting things on our social media to make the rules very clear. And then, yes, unfortunately just happened. We also canceled our regular in-store tastings that weekend because we had attended the pre-parade meeting and it was, you know, said no free alcohol. So we just took everything very, very seriously. So I just want to reiterate that.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Are you referring to the informational hearing that the board and the police department co-hosted before the South Boston Parade weekend?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. How many people were staffing this place on this day?
We had 5 of us total. And then as Crystal mentioned, because we are such a small business, we had my parents there helping as well as our husbands.
Okay. So with that staffing model, was someone assigned to the door, or was Crystal your job just to keep an eye on the door?
No, there was somebody there, and then literally, I think that he had, you know, walked away for a minute. Like, I'm not kidding, because I was by the door with the woman, with our employee that was ringing everybody up, and I just happened to be right there whenever it had all happened.
And like I said, it was just. Who were the two staff behind the counter drinking alcohol from the Solo cups?
We don't have any Solo cups on site. We did have
that day.
like,
I mean, sometimes people do different things on the parade day.
No, we had like St. Patrick's Day coffee cups. And we had coffee, like a Keurig in the back that people were, like our family was using. So.
Yeah, that was a pretty short form of the conversation with the officer. I don't recall people drinking on site. We made it very clear with our family and nor anybody that was there too, especially staff, that that's not tolerated.
Okay, the 2 males behind the counter, were they employees that work there regularly?
Could have either been my husband, Colleen's husband, or Colleen's father, but we don't have any male employees at our store.
Okay, Detective Hernandez, or Lieutenant Troy, the reference to the 2 males drinking behind the counter, did you get a chance to see what kind of beverage was in the cups? Was it coffee?
I don't know, ma'am. I was dealing with the ladies out that were now outside of the door, so I never actually saw the gentleman. It looks like Sergeant Gallagher observed the 2 males behind the counter.
Okay.
I made those observations also, Chairwoman, that I couldn't say it wasn't definitively coffee, but it was certainly red Solo cups.
Okay. I don't have any other questions at this time.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
From the detective or lieutenant, what were your observations as far as how the store was kind of made smaller? Did that help? What happened there?
It appeared as though they had restricted the, as the proprietor said there, they'd restricted, cut the store in half in essence. So people just came in and they had several barrels of baskets set up with ice, and they were selling single cans of, I believe they were either infused or I'm sorry, they were cocktails of some kind, and were selling singles. So people come in, bought those, and open them within the store.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get a visualize is like, did this setup kind of work against them and contribute to potentially a patron?
No, it just seemed as though they wanted to restrict. they seemed as though, to me, that they wanted to restrict access to the store so people weren't necessarily browsing, that they just came in and purchased and left.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the items before the board this morning. That will adjourn this morning's hearing. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.